welcome from my side. I'm Carla Arend and I head up IDC's cloud research for Europe. And I have the honor today to moderate a panel on the good practices from the private sector. And but before we start, there are a few housekeeping items that I want to go through. You've just heard them from Alessandra as well, but this session will be recorded and will be made available also afterwards. All participants except the speakers and moderators are moderated by default. If you're not a speaker, please turn off your video to preserve bandwidth. Feel free to post your questions in the Zoom chat. This is going to be an interactive session, so if you post your questions, we will bring them up and me and my panelists are going to answer them. And then if you would like to speak, please raise your hand and I will get to you and give you a chance to also verbally ask if you want that. And if you have any technical issues, then we have Verena here to help us, but you could also send an email to info@hcloud.eu. So with that out of the way, I would like to present my panelists to you. We have Johan Christenson from City Networks. Hi, Johan.
Hey there.
And we have Xavier Poisson from Hewlett Packard Enterprise.
Hi there.
Hello, welcome. We have Albert Zaragoza from Worldsensing. Hello, Albert.
Hi everyone, and thanks for inviting us here.
Great to have you. Thank you for joining. And then we have Paweł Skrzypek from AI Investments. Hello, Paweł.
Hello, thank you for the invitation.
Thank you for joining. Great. And what we would like to do is we would like to take the first half of this discussion to give our panelists a chance to talk about their good practices from their perspective and the organizations that they are representing. And then the second half of the panel, we will have a discussion with your questions, our questions, and then we will go back into the main session, and there's another half an hour of discussion where we will see what has been discussed in the public sector workshop, what has been discussed in the private sector workshop, and what are the learnings from both of these discussions. But with that, I would like to jump right into it and give the word to you, Johan, to talk about good practice in technology innovation from the viewpoint of City Network.
All right, super. I think somebody else is sharing something, so hopefully, I guess that's you. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Let's see if I can find my thing here then. All right, so thanks so much, Carla. I appreciate it. Super nice to be here. Just as I'm starting to share the screen here, real quick, as Carla said, my name is Johan. I'm the CEO of City Network. We are something as uncommon as a public cloud provider in Europe. And we have a slightly different slant to how we deliver our global services. It's pretty much based on European values and European laws. So everything that we do is based on a European enterprise. And that's what I was hoping to share with you here today, a little bit of our experience in that journey over the last 10 years and how things can be done differently here in Europe as far as making sure that we can adhere to some of the laws and things that we have in particular here, so to speak. So I wanted to begin with by just saying that what we're in here is an innovation journey. It's really what the digital transformation is all about digital production capacity as everything is going digital, whether it's your customer meeting or whether it's your back-end systems that are doing its thing, so to speak. And I wanted to show you a little bit how that fits in. And I'm going to build a puzzle here for you to see both where we fit in, but you as a customer or you as an enterprise in Europe today plays out, so to speak. So at the top of this puzzle, we have innovation. That's the result that we want to reach. And as you guys know, tons of things are happening continuously, and we need to be able to produce new services at a very, very rapid pace at this point. We all have a digital stack. At the bottom, we might have an ERP system. At the top, we have our customer meeting, so to speak. If you're an internet bank, for example, it can be the app, it can be the web page where you provide more and more services. That digital stack needs to today run or be updated every day, several times per day in production 24/7. It used to be, of course, that we did updates in a much different way every 6 months or whatever it might be. For that to happen, to get that speed, we need two things: programmable infrastructure or cloud infrastructure. And the common denominator there is automation, right? Everything needs to be automated. And on the other side, it's an organizational change, which is a challenge for all of us. There's no doubt. You can call that the DevOps journey, the DevSecOps journey, but what it really means is that we need to use automation tools, whether it's, a Terraform, Ansible. We need to use CI/CD for automation and testing. But above all, it comes down to us as people, right? So normally we have to move our knowledge base a little bit. And from our experience, one of the most important things that you have to do is to create autonomous teams, meaning that the teams that deliver your code has to never have to ask questions for anybody. That way they can do what they need to do to continuously push code into your applications and into your services. Now, of course, as a wet blanket on top of all this come these fun things, right? We have regulatory challenges, security and governance. And those are pieces that, of course, has been talked about a lot here as of late with the various new laws. We had this big, the highest court in Europe invalidated Privacy Shield. And all of a sudden that makes it a big question. And if you remember the autonomous team, right? So one of the big aspects is they cannot stop because they do not know what laws are provided. Can this infrastructure actually take this data lake with this type of data, whether it's GDPR or something else, so to speak? Now, we build our services with three building blocks, I guess you can call it. Open and open source, we believe that Europe needs to have a bunch of, and we need to engage even more. And that openness is important for data transportability and so forth. Compliance is another aspect. We've been lucky to build it in from the ground up, not as a Band-Aid on top. And then sustainability, we all know how important that is, but we also know that there's a lot of giants out there that are not climate neutral. And I think we can all do a better job in making sure that we compensate and so forth, and we reach that as soon as possible. Last quick slide here, just to show a little bit of a quick drawing in how you can build out infrastructure that actually allows you to adhere to all the European laws. First off, just to have it said, there are 4 layers of laws. One are data laws like GDPR. Second is verticals such as patient data, for example. The third are frameworks, which means, of course, like Basel for banks, solvency for insurance, for example. And the fourth layer is all about our national laws. And as you guys know, you've heard of Cloud Act, FISA, Executive Order 1233, and so forth. And all of that makes it a challenge today, for example, to work with some of the giants from the US. One should not be naive, though. Of course, we in Europe have our own laws around that as well, right? So real quick, as a just final piece here, as you can see at the very bottom left, that's where you have your personnel. They have to have a certain background check. They have to work out of an area that's done properly, and they have to have a certain logical way. We run with ISO certifications to make sure that the logical aspects are there. You have the customer location, and then you build out your data center where access control is the most important thing. It's not whether it's in Stockholm or Frankfurt. It is about who has access to your data always. And that means that you have to have it from a data center perspective as well as a cage perspective. And we build that out again with a chain all the way down to the last bit in block storage and object storage, where you still have the same ISO certification, meaning that the logical way of handling your data is done properly to make sure that all those 4 layers of laws can be adhered to. And that is one of the most important pieces where we believe that Europe has a great chance to innovate long-term with infrastructure services. And of course, since we know the values of Europe, we can also do so from a legal perspective. That's a real short intro, and I hope that gave you something as far as some of that experience that we have.
Great. Thank you very much, Johan. That was a great example of what could be a good practice or what is a good practice in the technology side as we look at cloud computing. I would like to go to you next, Xavier, to show us what can be done in terms of federating cloud service providers across Europe, because that is also one of the the key topics that we have heard about in the last few days, or last 2 days, yesterday and today. And I think you have pioneered work in this area.
Yes, can you hear me well?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, so hi everyone. So my name is Xavier Poisson. I am leading the service provider business worldwide at Hewlett Packard Enterprise. And I am also the leader and the founder of the topic we speak today, Your Cloud, Your Way. So what is it about? Some time ago, 6 years ago, I was running the cloud infrastructure business in Europe, Middle East, and Africa at Hewlett Packard Enterprise. And we are successfully selling cloud infrastructure to service providers. And two things happened at that time. The first one was the acceleration of the hyperscalers in Europe. And the second was a big splash in the industry, the Eurostat survey in December 14, that was showing that only 24% of the enterprises were using cloud in Europe. Everybody thought it was for security, for technology. No, it was not. The main reason was for lack of knowledge. So with these two factors, we met together with my customers, service providers, to look at the economics of cloud and what we could do to accelerate the business of their organizations while accelerating the usage of cloud. Interestingly, when we met together, we found at that time that if a national service providers wanted to compete efficiently with an hyperscaler, in fact, if they were to invest 100 in building their infrastructure on data centers, they needed to invest on top of this 100, 3,000 for solution differentiation, and then 5,000 for advertising, which was really, really different from everyone was thinking about. And this is when Cloud 28+ is born. So we decided to create not an infrastructure-based platform, as you may see sometimes, but an experience-based platform to accelerate all the players in the ecosystem, meaning service providers, but also ISVs, developers, sometimes some government entities and the customers, to put all the people together in order that we could drop the cost for the service providers of solution creation, the 3,000 I was speaking about, and the 5,000 of advertising. This platform is relying on a very solid foundation. This is a service catalog also that we have designed out of the experience we had from Horizon 2020 projects we have been participating in. It were Contrail on Coco Cloud. So we enable all the participants to publish their offerings. This is a what, but also we give them the opportunity to speak about the why and the how, to explain, to enable the end user to know what it is about. And this is through thought leadership articles, this is through videos, this is through vertical pages that everyone can publish on the platform. The other thing is that we enable the end user customers to look at it, to engage, and to speak with the service providers inside the platform. One thing important that I need to say is that a lot of participants, technology providers in the platform have been working together to create new solutions. And one thing which is exceptional, I can tell you, this is the opposite design from a hyperscaler model. There is no tax and there is no fee. This is an open platform. So we started, as you see on this chart, we started 6 years ago. It has expanded dramatically. And we have been able really to generate more demand for the service providers, to enable the end user to find more services and to start the conversation. I need to say that out of the figures you see there, more than 60% of these figures are related to 60% are in the EU. We have expanded worldwide, of course, because it has been resonating a lot. And at the end, it is becoming a reference in the industry. These partners are HP connected partners, of course, but the model is there. And when I speak about the model, this is where it's becoming interesting, because behind Cloud 28+, there is an engine, a digital business platform engine. And we had some organizations saying to us, look, what you have done is not infrastructure-based, it is experience-based, and we want to replicate to accelerate our own digital transformation. And we said, okay, how we could package all of that in order that we enable an organization to build their own Cloud 28+ for their own purpose. And this is what we have done with what is called the HP Digital Business Platform, that we can implement in private cloud or in a public cloud according to the needs of the organization that want to accelerate their digital transformation. And the big example that we have for that is the French government, because we have been implementing for the French government this digital business platform. We started, it was a project funded by the head of IT, the DINUM at the French government, and it has been led by the Ministry of Ecology, implemented in their data centers, and planning to expand across all the ministries to accelerate the usage of IT capabilities by the civil servants, while enabling they save time and energy to create new tools, new outcomes through the digital transformation. One other thing that is interesting in this example with the French government, and this connects also with what you said in this conference about sustainability, is that we had to test our code versus the ranges in which a code can be accepted by the Ministry of Ecology. We is very cautious about that, and we passed the exam. I want to end by one thing. At the time when we are thinking about Europe, at the time when Gaia X is live, and I'm very proud that HP is a day one member of Gaia X, we work with the Gaia X team, I believe that we are not so far from 6 years ago. The latest figures that I have seen and that were said in the Gaia X big meeting last week was that cloud usage is at 30%, a bit less than 30% in Europe. So you see, in 6 years, we have jumped from 26, 24 to 30%, 6%. If we want to achieve the goal of reaching 50% of cloud adoption in Europe in 4 years, we need to play local, and we need to be experience-based on top of being infrastructure connected, as some people believe it should only be. And this is where I will close this presentation, and I thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Xavier. I think this is a great example of a cloud federation that is already happening in Europe. And the next speaker is, I would like to give the word to you, Albert, from Worldsensing, because you represent a best practice in terms of what can you build on the cloud and how can this edge to cloud continuum look like. That is also one of the key points that we've been discussing yesterday and today. Over to you.
Thanks. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Great. So welcome everyone, and I'm going to talk a bit more about Worldsensing and how we are applying our technology to deliver solutions in the edge and cloud for our customers. So if we move in here, a little bit of history about Worldsensing. We operate in the industrial IoT space, and we focus mainly on critical infrastructures in industries such as mining, construction, and rail. As you can see, well, our technology helps large enterprises monitor their critical assets in remote locations, ensuring structural safety over time. Our core product is load sensing and has facilitated the digitization of geotechnical, geospatial, and structural sensors by combining the power of edge computing devices, wireless connectivity, and cloud solutions. I believe it's one of the few examples in the world that tackles all this end-to-end technology. And as you can see, we currently have over 1,000 network deployments worldwide. I will use the tunnel construction as an example to see where our technology helps improve safety with complying with industry regulations that we've discussed in here. So traditionally, these industries, they experience challenges such as having to read manually the sensors. They have to install cables alongside the full length of the tunnel, and that makes it really dangerous, and extremely expensive as well for these companies to monitor their infrastructures. Our solution, what it helps them is to facilitate this automated monitoring of those sensors by deploying low power edge devices alongside the tunnel. First of all, these devices, they also connect wirelessly to our edge computing gateways, which they can be up to 15 kilometers farther from the actual data logger. And then that makes the data, and a bit more towards our case today here, the data available at our load sensing cloud software, and therefore allowing our customers to have a 24/7 connectivity management and also help the engineers manage potential risks remotely. So obviously the benefits are clear. It saves a lot of time of these companies on manual monitoring, and allows engineers to spend their time in the actual risk management, allowing spending time looking at the data and adding value to the business. Therefore, it provides a clear ROI, saving money in deployment and maintenance. It is also more sustainable, as these construction projects are constantly things that are moving and changing, right? And obviously it increases safety of the workers, allowing them to execute their tasks remotely, especially more so this year, where on-site presence has been in some cases impossible for this type of industries. Here you can see a visualization of our edge devices, gateways, and then the mobile and cloud solutions, providing an end-to-end service for the customer. And here, I mean, obviously, when you provide an end-to-end value for the customer, we also facilitate the adoption for the IT departments, to adopt these IoT solutions. This is normally a very fragmented technological space. So having an end-to-end solution provider obviously helps them enhance the power of connectivity, not only downwards with the, connecting to all the industry sensors, but also upwards, connecting to the third-party data visualization softwares that characterize this industry. So I think connectivity and avoiding fragmentation is something that is key in this type of solutions and the adoption of the cloud. Although we are based in Barcelona, I wanted to list here a few success stories. Our technology has been deployed everywhere around the world, allowing us to become a market leader in the industrial space. And probably more relevant as well to today's conference, we are as a European company, we are contributors to different European Union Horizon 2020 R&D programs, such as the Fog to Cloud project, which puts a special focus on edge and cloud computing, and then their importance in the deployment of the IoT space, that we talk a lot about. Here, there's a bit more information about myself and the company, and obviously, if you would like to know more, you can connect with us at any point in time. And thanks to IDC and H-Cloud for inviting us today here. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Albert. That was a great insight in what this edge to cloud continuum could look like. And then I would like now to give the word to Paweł from AI Investments to talk about another use case that is building on a multi-cloud platform. Over to you, Paweł.
Yeah, sure. Albert, can you unshare the screen?
One sec.
Sure. So I will try to
right now. It's all yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Now it works. Okay. I hope you can see my screen. Yes. Yeah, today I would like very briefly, just to save the time, to show our case and how we are using multi-cloud. It will be very short and practical presentation. What are the benefits of the multi-cloud approach for the startups, but not only for the all companies which are processing huge amount of data and requires a huge computing power. And also I will show the benefits of the using the outcome from the European Horizon 2020 projects, as we are using the melodic platform which was done in the melodic project Horizon 2020, and currently it is significantly extended in the Morphemic project. So I suppose that our results will be even better. What we are doing, we are a Polish startup which wants to create the investments platform based on the AI and the latest achievements in time series prediction and portfolio optimization to provide better investments results than, let's say, traditional industry. The very important point is that the most of the investments companies, funds, mutual funds, and so on are rather traditional. So the adoption of the new technology is not very high. Most of the most active funds which are adopt the new technologies are located in the US, and Europe is a quite unfortunately quite behind in that sense. But today I would like to say what was our challenges. For investments optimization, we need to process a lot of data. We need to train a lot of the machine learning models. We have the serious usage of the GPUs. We use multiple CPUs up to 300 threads in parallel for the portfolio, and we have the huge demand for the computing power. So in our case, as we are also the young startup company, the savings of the using cloud are very important, because having efficient use of the cloud computing resources will allow us to compete with the biggest companies, because we have just a fraction of their cost in terms of the computing infrastructure. And how we have done that? We are using the Melodic platform, which was created in the Horizon 2020 project, as I said. And Melodic allows for the optimization of the cloud resources, which is especially important for the machine learning and other application, because allows to really achieve huge savings, but not only savings, also the performance and so on. I could talk much longer about the topic, but I want to only show that the results which are achieved by using Melodic in our case. And Melodic is open source, so everyone can download and start using that. So our goal is to train 50 predictions models in 1 hour using as minimal number of resources as possible. And for that case, we are starting with our on-premises resources. We have some of the resources, but usually these on-premises resources are not enough. So we need to use cloud and even multi-cloud, and we are doing that in fully automatic way. So if the using on-premises resources give us too long processing time, then automatically the cloud computing resources are provisioned. The proper cloud computing provider is selected to achieve the best cost to performance or performance to cost ratio. And it is done continuously and automatically. So Melodic platform is continuously monitoring the processing and add and remove new resources. So Melodic is adding new resources, and when there are enough number of resources, then processing is finished on time. And after that, all of the cloud computing resources are removed, just not to generate additional unnecessary costs. That's the very simplified version of how it works in case of the AI investments. But this approach allows us for the effective optimization of the resource consumption, for the optimizing scalability and also to increase the reliability of the application, because we are not dependent on the one cloud provider. We are not vendor locked to the one cloud provider, but could use many cloud providers for our machine learning workloads. Yeah, and here we have the very short results in our case. Yeah, so properly chosen optimal deployment costs by year this amount of money, and we have also different solution for the hybrid cloud, different configuration. As you can see, the differences are quite significant. Yeah, so the most costly solution is cloud only. The quite costly solution is also on-premises solutions. So usually the optimal and reasonable use of the cloud resources, of course in the optimized way, give the best results. You can see that on that table, what are the results. And we also observe in practice that our costs are more or less 60% lower comparing to just the use of the cloud resources without optimization. Yeah, that's all from my side. I wanted to say that yeah, we can use European solution and it could be beneficial and could European cloud computing solution and could help to develop ecosystem for the European companies and other organizations and encourage to use the cloud. That's all from my side.
Great. Thank you very much, Paweł, for this great presentation. And we will now open it up for questions. So please post your questions in the chat or raise your hand, and I will try to give you the chance to ask your question as well in person. But the first question that I would like to ask probably to both Albert and Paweł is, does it make any difference to you if you're using a US headquartered cloud provider or a European headquartered cloud provider?
I can answer, Carla. From my point of view, obviously we have as a private company, we have the freedom, no, to choose any partner that we want. But obviously, with all the latest regulations and how this is impacting each of our customers and the industries, it is very relevant that at least the cloud provider that we choose has, for example, a storage and complies with certain regulations that, for example, the European Union is right now imposing, no, for any software or cloud service. Therefore, choosing the right partner, at least what we have to ensure is that the partner complies with these regulations. So I would say probably it will be easier if as some of our colleagues commented before, no, is some of these providers already have this into account when building the solution. So that for sure is something that is key for us to provide our partners with solutions that are regulated and that work in their space. So that's from my end.
Okay. Thank you. And Paweł, what is your point of view?
Yeah, from my point of view, because we are optimizing using the cloud resources for the cost and performance. And of course, the dominant position of the US-based cloud providers is evident, yeah, but they are also very expensive. Yeah? So in our case, we are integrated with some of the European cloud providers like Hetzner and Aruba Cloud, which are significantly cheaper, and Melodic Platform selects the cheaper solutions. So for example, we are mostly use the GPUs for the machine learning models from the European cloud providers, thanks to that optimization, because the same GPU on AWS is even 2 or 2.5 times much more expensive. Yeah, so I think that we have the European cloud providers. They have very valuable offer, but yeah, they are also less known due to the less marketing and other activities. But yeah, we are using them.
Okay, but it is a business decision for you.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think that's also what you said, Albert, right? It's a business decision who you're using rather than a political decision.
Yeah, that's correct. And I would say the other challenge as well is how how dominating the US providers are, and that's something that also when we are looking at hiring talent, and hiring different resources, for example, as an infrastructure specialist or a DevOps engineer, they tend to come with experience on the US providers, whereas it proves challenging to find those skills with European providers. So probably also on the on the education part of the equation, and having the right talent in Europe, that's something that has to be also considered into account. It's not only a business decision, but also how you internally build your team and how you configure yourself for this type of deploying these solutions.
Right. Now I would like to give the word to Xavier and Johan, because you are on the other end of the spectrum, if you want. So you are actually providing cloud services or federating European cloud service providers. So what is your opinion? What should be done in order to strengthen the position of European cloud providers?
Well, first off, let me jump in and just say that I think staying with the law should be a business decision, right? Because everything comes down to risk, but without that, of course, business can be impacted dramatically. And I think GDPR might have been the biggest business impact the last couple of years as a whole. But I think that Europe needs to take the chance, right? We talk about the dominance of US players, for some reason not Chinese, even though that they have the features that are on par with the US ones, but there's a lot of culture that goes into it. And I think that, with the regulatory situation that we have, and the fact that when you're a tech giant, you want to have an operating model that works throughout the world. And it simply does not work well when it comes from a regulatory perspective. And I think that's also a little bit of the opportunity for Europe. There's no doubt that we've fallen dramatically behind over the last 15 years as far as infrastructure services. And I would argue that we all understand that it's extremely important. Just like we need railways and roads, we need infrastructure for IT, because it creates an issue with long-term innovation and vulnerability as a whole, right? So I think that with Gaia X, for example, open source, and the momentum, I would say, political will. You see Germany and France moving forward very harshly in that manner. And you also have the regulatory situation that plays nicely for some players, at least, to step up. Even if it might not be feature par, they can deliver enough for you to do the digital transformation going forward.
Okay, and Xavier, what is your point of view?
I believe that we need to jump out of the technical stuff. To be frank with you, I believe that the hyperscalers are successful, of course, because they have a technology, but if you sum all the service providers in Europe, you have more power than Google, Amazon, or Azure. So this is not a technology, and these service providers are doing very, very well. I believe that what is missing is to think of the customer. Look, we are still at the same place quite than 6 years ago. 24% of cloud usage, 30% of cloud usage. What does it mean? The lack of knowledge issue has not been solved. It means marketing. When we design initiatives to federate everything together, let us not think only of the technical stuff. We need to think of how we are going to create a power in order that Paweł knows that he can work with a service provider in this or that country, that Albert is able to connect with some other IoT players in order that they can combine their knowledge and create a new solution and even export it outside Europe. But we need to think like that. And I repeat, the key of the game is marketing, and it is money. We need, of course, to have a common infrastructure as much as possible, but you will always have people who wants to differentiate. It was said, a competition between the service providers. We need to be very careful about that. Our experience demonstrated that in Cloud 28+, we have not obliged anyone to take one specific technology from a software perspective. Okay, these are partners working with Hewlett Packard Enterprise, fair enough. But beyond the hardware, okay, they do what they want. Some are with VMware, OpenStack, doing this, doing that. We don't care about that. We care about how we advertise their services, how we put the ISVs in touch with the service provider to create a new solution. So these two elements, as of today, I believe we are late. We are very, very advanced in making norms, in touching green, touching interoperability, touching everything around data compliance, everything on regulation. We are fantastic. On the pure technology, we are fantastic. But we have a big, big hole in the picture. And this is go-to-market. And this, I believe, we need to overcome that very quickly, because if not, even for initiatives such as Gaia X, it will be very complicated to be successful. So this is a bit my point of time. It's not a technology competition. I believe it is a marketing competition also. And we need to address it as well as addressing the technology part. And we do it very well on the technology part. We need to do it very, very well also on the marketing and communication part.
Interesting. Thank you very much, Xavier. And I think we have maybe time for one quick feedback round on the topic of Gaia X. It has come up, of course, in these 2 days. It has also come up in the questions. So does Gaia X solve the problem? Because if we put strict rules around the data, then maybe the infrastructure becomes less important. So I'm putting this out here, maybe a little bit provocative, and I would just like to get a quick feel from each of you, from my panel, if you agree or disagree.
No, on my side, I can start. I believe that, yes, if we focus on data in vertical industries, on create ecosystems, and we advertise them at the same time, yes. We forget the infrastructure, we focus on the data. Yes. I believe we can have a big, big advance, but we need not to forget the mechanism to advertise, communicate, and bring the people to know that a data set exists. Because if Paweł doesn't know that a data set is existing somewhere, he cannot run, he cannot play.
Right. So we need to have transparency about what is actually there in Europe.
And not only transparency, but advertising. We need to play the rules of the others. You know, when you're a startup in France or in the UK and you look for a cloud, you can go to Amazon, Google, Azure, they give you a voucher, it's free of charge. What do we do? What do we do? If Albert was just to start his company today, what would he do? He needs to go somewhere. And if we are not able everywhere in Europe to say, okay, I give you a voucher, you stay with me because I bet on you tomorrow. As we have done, you know, with Cloud 28+, at one point of time, we said, okay, we create that for you. You are going to be successful. At the end, we know that if you are successful, we'll sell more hardware to you. I have always been very transparent around that. But it has been working because we forgot ourselves. But this topic of the startups, of where they are going, in which cloud they are going, is a fundamental one, I believe.
Right. Okay. Johan, do you want to comment maybe?
Yeah, for sure. I assume it's the question from NEA there, so to speak. So in my world, no, it cannot be taken out of the equation. First off, there are a lot of governments at this point in Europe doing all kinds of things as far as looking at, you know, supplemental measures. And I think everybody's looking at encryption as one way, you know, classifying data as another. You know, in my first presentation there, classifying data is very, very difficult because at some point your apps, whatever, is going to need more data, right? And then encryption, as decision has been made, does not go all the way. It's everything from the US now having 2 laws that are going to forbid that only one party keeps the key, so to speak, right? To computers getting better and can hack that encryption. That makes the government agency saying, no, it's not good enough for that. So I think Europe and the US need to work nicely together. And I think that's important, where, you know, we have a humanitarian right for privacy and the US has this huge surveillance program, so to speak, right? And I think we need to find a way there. Otherwise, that will not happen. So no, I don't think that's the case. But I do know that there's a lot of European providers that can provide, you know, to Xavier's point, provide that so you don't have to think about it that way.
Okay, great. And Albert, you had a point as well, I think.
Yeah, I think, I mean, for us, obviously, as a private company, no, we owe to our customers, no, to provide a good service. So the key for us, and mainly we are focused on critical infrastructure. So what we need to give them is something that's reliable, that follows regulations, and that, you know, that serves the purpose, no, the purpose they need. No, we talked about the 24/7 reliability, everything else. So the key for us is to have all that in a provider that also is efficient in terms of costs, etc. No, so I think what we need from a European perspective is to be able, no, to compete on those ends. And, you know, as the rest of the panelists, we are saying, no, is if we are able to compete on that and also be able to advertise and to make the services known, something like Gaia X can prove that can compete easily with the biggest US players. So I think that's the key for us.
But can I just ask, do your customers sometimes demand that you work with a certain cloud provider, or can you choose the solution?
Yeah, you choose the solution. So the customer asks for us a certain SLA, a certain level of regulation, but they don't get to the point where they ask for a particular provider. Not it hasn't arrived there yet.
Okay, thank you. And Paweł, what is your point? Can we stay at the data level, or does infrastructure play a role?
Yeah, in our case, infrastructure play a role, I think, but the data is also very important. And in case of the Gaia X, I think that, yeah, it for sure needs advertising, and also I think that it would be good to align it with the demand from the organization and companies. Yeah, maybe it is the lack of advertisement, but yeah, from my point of view, I think that the data is a really crucial point in the development of, for example, in our company, the key element, the key competitive advantage are the data, the processing of the data, because infrastructure, everybody can just bought from the cloud providers. Yeah, so some of the data probably will stay proprietary and be the competitive advantage of the given companies. But on the other hand, I would be very happy to try to explore also other data set. But as it was said, I need to know that these data sets exists, and also it must be beneficial and valuable from my point of view. Yeah, so that's probably not easy way, and there are many marketplaces with the data, but they are barely used. Yeah, so for the different purposes. So if you want to do that, probably we should think how it should be done in the way that it can be used by the customers. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, all of my panelists, for your great, insightful answers. Oh, sorry, Carla, I think I interrupted you. You were dropping out.
Organizations. That's the crucial point from my point of view.
Okay, sorry. I think I interrupted you. I'm sorry. I think your network was cutting out. But
just finished.
Thank you very much for your insightful comments.